4:16 a.m. Your phone jolts on the nightstand like it is possessed. The screen lights your bedroom in a cold medical blue. Before you can think, it screams the same two words twice. Emergency alert. Your house is silent, but the silence feels engineered, like someone turned the world's volume knob down. You reach for the lamp. Nothing happens. You tap the switch again, harder, like force can restart reality. The power is out, yet the phone still lives on battery. From outside comes a distant rising wail, sirens layered on sirens, moving in different directions. Your throat tightens because it sounds coordinated. Another vibration, another alert. Not from one app, but from everything at once. A federal banner, a state banner, a local banner. The words blur together, but one line lands clean in your mind. National Defense Emergency. You sit upright, listening for the ordinary noises that should follow. The fridge hum, a neighbor's dog, a car passing. None arrive. As the world holds its breath, where are you when the lights go out? Not as a metaphor, but as a timetable. This is not a headline you can scroll past. It is a new operating system installed over your life. In that instant, the old world doesn't just crack. It hardens into something else. The first thing you notice is not explosions. It is synchronization. Every device that still has power is trying to tell you the same story. Your phone loads a government page that half renders, then freezes. Your internet icon flickers, then vanishes. Your cell bars jump from full to 1, like the network is drowning and taking gulps of air. You open the window. The night air is wet and metallic, the way it smells before a storm. Far away, a helicopter thumps low over the rooftops, not like a news chopper, but like a patrol. Somewhere closer, a transformer pops with a sharp flash, then dies. The neighborhood goes darker, like a theater, before the curtain rises. You think, maybe it's a grid issue, maybe it's a hack, maybe it's a drill. Your mind offers comforting lies at high speed. Denial is the brain's first ration. Then the next alert hits, shorter and colder. It tells you to stay indoors, conserve power, and await instructions. It does not tell you what happened. You turn on your radio, the old one you kept in a drawer as a joke. It crackles like a campfire. A flat voice reads a message every 30 seconds, identical each time. The repetition is meant to calm, but it does the opposite. Repetition means they cannot answer questions. It means they are buying time. At 4:28 a.m., your group chats come alive, then drown. Messages stack faster than you can read. Is this real? My dad says bases got hit. My bank app is down. Planes are turning back. Everyone is guessing, and every guess sounds confident. Information at this moment is poison disguised as clarity. Outside you hear a car door slam, then another. Someone starts their engine, then turns it off. A neighbor's porch light tries to glow on generator power, then flickers like a dying candle. The street is not a battlefield, but it is no longer normal. Normal requires trust. Trust requires communication. Communication is already failing. The trigger comes from far away, yet it reaches you faster than sound. Somewhere across an ocean, a confrontation crosses the line from threats to kinetics. The first missiles fly in the dark, guided by satellites and inertial systems aimed at runways, fuel farms, radar arrays. Ships get hit. Air defense radars light up like flares. Then the retaliation begins, measured in minutes, not days. You never see those missiles. You feel them as consequences. Federal posture shifts. The military goes to maximum readiness without saying the number out loud. Civil aviation gets throttled, then frozen. The airspace above major corridors becomes a controlled tube for military priority traffic. Commercial flights sit at gates, engines off, passengers trapped in cabins with no answers. The internet does not go down like a switch. It degrades like a sick animal. Routing hiccups. DNS errors spread. Major platforms load, then don't. It is the digital equivalent of fog, thickening until you cannot see 2 blocks ahead. In the background, cyber units are chewing at the connective tissue of the country, looking for weak joints. You try to check the news. The stream stutters. A map appears, then vanishes. You catch a few words from an anchor's mouth, then the feed drops. The last thing you see is a red banner. United States responds. The phrase is both a promise and a warning. Responding is what turns a crisis into a war. By 5:10 a.m., the phone network starts to behave like a crowded exit during a fire. Calls don't ring. Texts hang. When something goes through, it arrives minutes late, out of order, like a broken timeline. You keep trying anyway, because silence feels worse than failure. Every attempt burns battery. Battery becomes time. You find yourself doing small, automatic tasks because your mind needs motion. You fill a pot with water, then another, then every bottle you can find. Water is not just for drinking. It is for flushing, for washing, for stabilizing a household when everything else slips. You fill your bathtub even if you feel foolish. You check your pantry like you are meeting it for the first time. You count cans. You weigh the emotional value of rice. You pull out medications and line them up. You find your flashlight and test it. The beam looks too thin for how large the night suddenly feels. You locate your spare batteries and realize you have fewer than you believed. At 6 a.m., the sky lightens, and for a moment, the dawn tricks you. Birds still move. The horizon still turns pink. The world still looks like it should contain coffee and commuting. That is the cruelty of infrastructure collapse. Nature keeps going, and that makes the disruption feel surreal, like an error in your perception. Then the sirens return, and this time they are closer. Not the steady wail of tornado warnings. These are shorter bursts, pulsing as if speaking in code. You hear a loudspeaker in the distance, words smearing in the air. The message is simple. Remain indoors, do not travel, conserve fuel. You watch your neighbors. Some are already loading cars with suitcases, like they are fleeing a hurricane. Others stand in driveways, arms crossed, performing normalcy like a ritual. One person walks a dog like it is any other morning. The dog's paws click on the sidewalk, and the sound is too loud in the new quiet. You consider work, then you laugh once, short and ugly. Work is an artifact now. Your inbox may still exist somewhere on a server farm, but the systems that make work meaningful are bending. People do not care about quarterly goals under national emergency alerts. They care about family proximity and resource distance. At 7:12 a.m. you get a message from your employer. It is careful and legalistic. It says operations are paused. It says use your judgment. It does not tell you what to do because no one can. Leadership is often just confidence with a schedule. When the schedule disappears, so does the confidence. Now the information gap widens. Government systems know more than you, but they cannot say it without causing panic or revealing weakness. Media knows less than it pretends. Social media knows nothing, yet speaks loudest. You are forced into a primitive decision. Which voices do you trust when trust is expensive? You choose the simplest sources. Official emergency feeds, if they load. Local agencies, if they broadcast. A radio, because it doesn't require a corporate handshake to function. You write down what you hear, because memory becomes unreliable under adrenaline. Panic is a chemical that dissolves details. At 8 a.m., the first visible breakdown appears at a place you never think about until it fails. Payments. You drive to a store because you feel you should, because staying still feels like surrender. The parking lot is already half full. People move fast, eyes scanning, carts rattling. Inside, the shelves are not empty from shortage. They are empty from fear. Water disappears first because it is heavy and finite. Canned food goes next because it is quiet calories. Baby formula vanishes in minutes because parents do not bargain with hunger. Batteries become currency. Toilet paper returns as the old joke turned prophecy. You grab what you can without thinking, then force yourself to slow down. You do not need 20 items of the same thing. You need variety and utility. You need food that does not require cooking if gas fails. You need items that keep you stable when stress tries to break you. You choose like you are packing time, not groceries. At the register, the line crawls. People clutch baskets like lifeboats. The cashier looks exhausted already, and it is not even morning's end. The card reader blinks, then freezes. Someone tries again, then again. A manager appears, face tight, and announces cash only. Half the line swears. The other half looks relieved, like they expected it. You realize you have little cash, because modern life trained you not to. The system is designed to make cash feel old, inconvenient, suspicious. Now it feels like oxygen. You pay what you can, leave what you cannot, and walk out with less than you wanted. On the way out, you see someone arguing over the last case of water. Their voice cracks with humiliation. At 9:30 a.m., gas stations become pressure valves. Cars line up, engines idling, each one a private panic. People top off tanks that are already half full because the mind prefers action over uncertainty. The pumps work for now, but the network that authorizes transactions is unstable. When the authorizations fail, pumps lock. You watch the attendant step outside and tape a handwritten sign to the window. Limit 10 gallons. It is not law, but it becomes law because everyone believes it will be enforced. A police cruiser rolls in and parks at an angle, not aggressive, but present. Presence is a tool when words are scarce. Tempers rise as minutes stretch. A man behind you honks once, then stops, as if he realizes sound is wasted energy. Someone ahead climbs out of a truck and gestures, shouting through a closed window. The sound of that shouting feels older than the moment, like you are hearing an ancient argument over scarce water. You decide to leave the line, not because you do not need fuel, but because time in a crowd is risk. Crowds are where rumors become directives and anger becomes movement. You would rather have half a tank and a calm mind than a full tank and a fistfight. You drive home slowly, as if fuel has become fragile. By late morning, the cyber component becomes undeniable. Your bank app does not just load slowly, it refuses. The screen shows an error that looks polite, but feels like a locked door. ATMs in your area are still powered, but they show temporarily unavailable. The words are too neat to be comforting. In the background, SCADA systems that manage utilities and pipelines are under pressure. You never see those control rooms, but they are the spine of modern comfort. Operators shift to manual modes. They isolate segments. They cut load. They do controlled blackouts to stop uncontrolled ones. The grid becomes a chessboard, and you are a piece that does not know the rules. At noon, your phone rings. It is your mother, voice strained. Her town has power, but her internet is dead. She heard something about a strike overseas. She heard something about a base in the Pacific. She heard something about Article 5. She is gathering fragments and trying to make them into shelter. You tell her what you know, which is almost nothing. You tell her to fill water containers. You tell her to keep cash and ID close. You tell her to stay off the roads unless necessary. You tell her to pick a single meeting point if communication fails. You can hear her breathing slow as the advice gives her something to hold. You hang up and realize you are giving survival instructions on instinct, like a person who studied disasters for entertainment. Now it is not entertainment. It is muscle memory. It is the realization that daily life is a thin fabric stitched by logistics. War pulls at that stitching until daylight shows through. By early afternoon, the official messaging becomes firmer. Curfews are suggested, then announced in some areas. Emergency management centers activate. Local governments open shelters, not because bombs are falling, but because systems are. People who rely on electric medical devices cannot wait for the grid to return. People who have no food buffer cannot wait for deliveries. You hear military aircraft overhead, higher and faster than commercial jets, a steady thunder that does not loop like training flights. The sound is both reassuring and terrifying. It means defense is awake. It also means the nation is bracing for impact, even if the impact never comes to your street. The psychological shift is subtle but decisive. Morning was confusion. Afternoon becomes acceptance. Acceptance does not bring calm, it brings urgency. You begin to look at ordinary objects as survival tools. A candle is now a lighting plan. A bag of rice is now a week of dinners. A charged power bank is now a communication lifeline. You walk through your house and choose a base room, not because you expect a blast, but because you need organization. You pick a room with fewer windows and easy access to supplies. You gather water, food, first aid, blankets, flashlight, radio. You place shoes by the bed because broken glass doesn't announce itself. You decide rules with the people you live with, even if it feels dramatic. One person checks official updates twice an hour, not constantly. One person watches the neighborhood quietly. You limit phone use. You keep devices on low power mode. You write down key numbers on paper because paper doesn't crash. Outside, the neighborhood begins to sort itself. Prepared homes look calm, but not careless. Unprepared homes look busy, but not effective. Some neighbors knock offering information, a small human network forming where digital networks fail. Others knock asking for things, not malicious, just scared. Fear makes every request feel urgent. You learn fast that sharing is a strategy, not a feeling. If you give everything away early, you become another person in need. If you give nothing, you become a target of resentment. You choose a middle path. You share knowledge freely because it costs little. You share small supplies selectively because it buys goodwill without bleeding you dry. You trade simple assets. Someone has a generator and offers to charge phones for an hour if people bring extension cords. Someone has a camp stove and can boil water. Someone has medical training and offers to check on an elderly neighbor. The block becomes a quiet coalition, not a mob, and that difference matters. At 5 p.m., the first controlled blackout hits your area. It is not dramatic. The remaining power in your home flickers once, then dies. The last light from your modem blinks out like a heartbeat stopping. You stand still, listening to the sudden absence of electrical sound. It is the most unnatural quiet you have ever heard. In the distance you hear more sirens, but fewer now, as if emergency services are conserving movement. The sky darkens, and without streetlights your neighborhood looks older, like you have stepped back decades. The familiar glow of signs and windows is gone. Darkness becomes a physical thing pooling in corners. You light a candle and watch the flame tremble. A single flame makes the room feel both safer and more fragile. You cook what will spoil first. You eat early. You ration without announcing it as rationing. You pour water carefully and realize you are already changing. Modern life trained you to waste without noticing. War trained you to count. On the radio, the message evolves. It mentions ongoing operations. It mentions retaliation. It mentions allied coordination. It does not mention cities or targets. It does not mention casualty numbers. It tells you to stay calm, which is a phrase governments use when they are not calm. The voice is steady, but it sounds tired already, and it is only day one. In your mind, you zoom out without wanting to. You imagine emergency meetings in sealed rooms, NATO consultations, secure lines, maps with arrows. You imagine aircraft carriers shifting position, submarines silent in deep water, hypersonic weapons held back like knives not yet thrown. You imagine diplomats speaking fast to prevent a final escalation. You also imagine markets freezing, not because money disappears, but because confidence does. Cargo ships divert to safer ports. Insurance rates spike so high that trade becomes impossible. Airports close or handle only priority flights. Supply chains, built for efficiency, snap under unpredictability. The world's bloodstream clots, and you feel it as empty shelves. By 9 p.m., your phone battery drops below 50%, and it feels like watching daylight drain. You stop scrolling. You stop chasing rumors. You make a deliberate choice to let ignorance be less painful than hysteria. You check official updates once, write down what matters, then put the phone away. You set a night routine because routine is armor. Doors checked, windows checked, one light accessible, first aid accessible, shoes accessible. You decide on a watch system if you have more than one adult, not because you expect invasion, but because exhaustion is a threat you can control. A tired mind makes dumb decisions in the dark.